You know, back in the day, when you grew up watching basketball, when you were watching teams compete with one another and the season was over, did you hear many like trades, like people like being traded away, like especially like star players?
No, no. Back in the day, man, they usually just stay. They stay, and then they work harder for the next season. Nobody thought about leaving, like especially with the uh, uh, Dallas Mavericks. I like Dallas Mavericks and Minnesota Timberwolves, and of course you have the big teams: New York Knicks, you have Detroit Pistons, Chicago Bulls, Indiana Pacers. No one
No
thought
one
about
left,
it.
yeah.
Nah, man, the camaraderie was pretty strong back in the day.
See, and that's the thing I like about back then, because those teams, like you mentioned, you had obviously Patrick Ewing in the Knicks, you had Kevin Garnett, Minnesota, Indiana, you had Reggie Miller, Dirk Nowitzki in Dallas, and so forth, so forth. And I think that's the thing that's missing now is because when I think of these stars signing these long term deals, you would think that they'll be there their whole career.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's just like I think with management, it's things can change depending on how the team is looking, and I just hate it as a fan of the game. You like especially a fan of the teams like you don't want to see a star player just unexpectedly
yeah, yeah,
be on the
exactly.
move.
Because back then the teams they represented wherever they're from.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, the players were not thinking of, I'll see how I go with this team now,
Mm-hmm.
and then if things go well, maybe I'll stay. They're having like they already have these options. Back in those days, man, they were just, hey, I'm from Detroit. I'm gonna play for Detroit
Yeah.
the rest of my life.
Yeah, it was all about pride actually back then. If you look at right now, like people are trying to chase money, chase rings, whereas back then
Yeah,
they didn't really care about money,
yeah,
nor
yeah.
playing with other big stars.
I
They
agree.
cared about their pride on saying which team drafted them, and they want to actually win a championship with that team that drafted them.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, I agree.
yeah, because especially because one thing I think about like when people now come into the league, it's it's always one or the other. It's either more you want to try and win a championship or you want to try to make the most money. Obviously, it's a job, but
Yeah, yeah.
I think the people now don't really love the sport the way that it used to be back then.
Yeah, yeah. And back then, man, the passion was like it went to the physical norm.
Yeah.
You had to be physical back in those days, man. That was the passion behind it. And if you didn't win a game, like the upset was there. You were heartbroken.
So with the superstars back then, what like I said, like the Knicks back then, or for example, or on any of the teams, how often did you hear like Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen? Like how often did you hear like stars like that like be injured throughout the season or even in the playoffs?
Hardly. Even if someone got hurt, they usually wanted to get better, or maybe they didn't say anything. But it never lasted for someone got injured. You'd never you see him miss games within a 6-month period. Usually within the next 2 or 3 months, they're back.
So was there such a thing as like load management back then? Like would you ever see players just randomly just sitting out when you were watching?
No, not really. No, it's pretty solid. It's
Yeah.
solid team.
Because when did the load management kick in? Do you know? John?
Yeah, it started kicking in within this decade. I mean, sorry, like in the last 10 years.
10 years.
Yep. And it just so happens that during I think so like somewhere in the 2014s going up, whereas players were starting to get more injured with it throughout the season, and like players were starting to complain about having to keep practicing more, playing more, and that's why other teams actually started giving those load managements, whereas these players deserve more time to rest because they've been working too hard, they've been playing hard, and I think that's what people actually complain now about. Like during back then, like stars would go all out to work.
Yeah.
Like let's say Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
you'd see him work his ass off like
Yeah.
throughout the entire week. If he'd be training in 5 days, that guy would actually want to train like for 7.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And like
agree.
even though
The competitors.
yeah, like if you see his body and stuff during back then, like you really need to be physical, and like I think that's what's missing in today's league
I agree.
is the physicality,
Yeah.
and because you know players like in a way the way I see them, they're kind of soft, towards back then, yeah, because
Yeah,
of
kind of
these
softened
yeah
up a bit. Yeah.
because like look, if you take the load management, like you're gonna sit out games, it means your body's soft enough to not take these physicalities
Yeah.
into the game.
Yeah.
Or that's why a lot of people respected the game back then, where even like Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett playing all of these
Yeah.
physical games,
I agree.
because they chose to toughen up in
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Whereas now, like let's say, like, just for instance, I'm like hating on the player, but I like this guy, Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
You know, like guy came back from injury, but played 1 game, get another load management the next 2 games, and like in a way, you're not gonna get stronger if you're gonna keep missing out on games and stuff. I mean, yeah, injuries
Yeah.
are something you're supposed to take care of, but at the end of the day, I feel like the more you keep missing out on games, the more your body's not used to
Yeah.
playing in
I
these type
agree.
of situations, because your body's used to get like being rested in the games that you're supposed to be
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
to.
See, the one thing I've noticed, they talk about pace, like the tempo pace of every team. It's like we need to play faster. We need to, make
Mhm.
more shot attempts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I don't recall when you guys were watching games. I don't recall them ever running 1,000 times, 1,000
Yes.
laps playing.
Yeah.
It used to be slow and controlled.
Yeah. Because you actually had a system in place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Totally agree.
the system is what keeps your like energy level on a consistent base,
Mm.
and you're not exerting a lot of efforts. You're playing smart.
Smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like if you notice back then, you can see the score result from back then. They weren't as high as right now.
Compared to now.
Like if you look at these games, like especially this season, I recall there was a game this season where a team they didn't go to overtime, but the score ended like 144 to 120 something.
Jesus
Like
Christ.
if you look at it, those are fast pacing games, whereas they're
Yeah.
just not playing the defense, but they're scoring more on offense because of the
Yeah.
pace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas back then, as what Nui said, it's all about outsmarting your opponent. So like
Yeah.
back then, you would have these fast-paced games, but you'd have teams setting up plays and trying to execute them
Yeah.
properly by using the shot clock entirely.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not trying to rush it. They're not trying to force a shot.
Exactly.
They're trying to play smart. Whereas back then,
That's
whereas,
100.
yeah, that's why with today, like people are just trying to rush things.
And that's not so. So the system, because I'm trying to understand today's system. It's just obviously just looking for wide open shots.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys actually, it's funny that you mentioned when they milk the clock and it's a system, energy levels and stuff like that. Because I mentioned this a while back.
Yeah.
What's different now and what the new players are missing is that they don't have like the post game, and the reason I don't know. I feel like that one component alone changes
It
the
does.
whole system.
It does
Yeah, right.
actually. Like if you look at it right now, there's barely any players, any forwards or centers in the post game right now. Like you see centers nowadays, they'd like to stay outside the paint.
Yeah.
They'd like to shoot threes
Yeah, yeah,
outside as well. Like
Yeah.
back then, you shoot threes, you get benched.
Yeah.
Like there's this crazy video of Andrew Bynum on a fast break. I mean, I think you know this video, yeah? Like, yeah, just pull it up, yeah? But like, on a transition, someone just passes the ball to Andrew Bynum. He was walking towards the center. gets a ball from the middle of the 3-point area, pulls up, misses. The next possession he gets subs out. Whereas today you see these random centers like pull up.
It's part of this.
It's part of the system. Yeah. It's like the coaches want them to shoot. So like,
You remember the Glenn Davis one? Glenn Davis wide open shoots a 3 and Doc's like, really? A 3? That's like, and that's I think that's the one thing I liked about back then.
Yeah.
I would say from the just before the 2019 polo, we still had
post-up games. Yeah.
the traditional center forwards, like
Yeah.
your small forwards to your centers, were actually using their strengths.
Yeah.
Post game, muzzle, not enough shooting.
Yeah.
Whereas now everyone has decided they're a shooting guard.
Yeah.
And it bugs the hell out of me because, like for example, I never saw Patrick Ewing take a 3-point shot.
Yeah.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I think, didn't Karl Malone take like one? No, Shaq.
Yeah, Shaq only
Took one or three-point attempts?
Yep. It's something like that, but he only made one in his
Yeah.
entire career.
Can you imagine if
Yeah.
Shaq today was shooting threes in the league? How stupid you look.
I know.
I think he attempted one 3-point shot and he attempted 20,000 free throws.
Yeah. See, I'd rather that than him take 20,000 threes and 5 free throws, Because, like, that's the one thing I'm worried about, like, the in the future. Because, all right, let's fast forward. So, the stars that we love growing up, they're getting older.
Yeah.
They're slowly phasing out. And now we're looking at the new generation.
Yeah.
Like, your SGAs, your Anthony Edwards,
Yeah.
Jalen Greens, the list goes on and on. Jason Tatum, on and on. And now we're phasing out, like, your Steph Curry, your James Harden, your Kevin Durant, LeBron James, all those.
Yeah.
My prediction is that they have unique, different styles for each team. That they still have a bit of the old tradition.
Yeah.
Now once they're gone, you'll see every team. They just because their names are different, but really the system is all the same.
Yeah.
Like your centers and your power forwards are all gonna be trying, instead of cutting or looking for post up, everyone's gonna be behind the 3-point line, trying to move the ball around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just for example, like if you're talking about that type of system, just look at the Celtics.
Yeah.
You see the Celtics, like there was this game where they chucked up like 63s and they made like God knows like 20% of them.
You see,
and like
if the rest of the league is not like really paying attention to that game, you really are just you may look like you know what you're doing, but you really don't. Like that game tells you logically 2-point shots are much more efficient, much more effective than 3-point.
Absolutely. And learning how to drive, actually attacking the basket, it creates more fear.
Like the Indiana Pacers and the Thunder, right? Even though they're low market teams, for example, I do not recall them taking a lot of 3-point shots.
Yeah.
Every possession they treat it as if it matters. Like each possession is like, this will cost me the game.
Absolutely, yeah.
All the shots that they've taken is a good shot, regardless. But I just think the rest of the league, they're trying to make these players that we've never heard of or don't have that type of strength in the back, wanting to like making them shoot the threes.
Yeah.
Why? Just because the Golden State Warriors did it. It works for them because they had the players. But the whole league now, I don't know why they're doing that.
Oh man, big men should be inside the paint all the time.
Yeah, like it's copycat league because shout out to the Thunder winning the championship.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of like I said this before. When the playoffs start, you kind of see the teams that move up. There's different levels.
Yeah.
You notice that all the teams like your Boston Celtics, your Golden State Warriors, your Houston Rockets, those are all they like to chuck 3-pointers more than 2s, and then all of them got eliminated. So when it came to the finals and all that, you saw like physicality, competitive, like spirits, attacking the rim, more physical than shooting.
Yeah.
and that's what I'd like to see more often in this league.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with outside shooting, like a lot of 3 points, but you get more satisfaction and excitement, I reckon, when people try to dazzle, with the crossovers and stuff like that.
So I used to think back then when we watched, like, let's say the game start, end of the first quarter, it's like the score is 28-30. People at the start, it's like, oh, it's gonna be a good game. They're very close.
Yeah.
But that's still a lot of points. But then when people say, oh, it's shit because it's 15-20 in the first quarter, people think, oh, it's a bad game. People are shooting like they're not shooting right or not. But really, it's actually the defense on both ends really make, because that's the competitiveness. Trying to stop the other players.
Yeah.
I know that it's like basketball's obviously it's more than just shooting, but I think everyone's just too focused on shooting.
Yeah. And just creating points and stuff like that, rather than creating smart plays.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's missing, other than the post-up game, which is you gotta have the killer mentality.
Oh yeah, of course,
Not
man.
the instinct, it's the mentality.
100%.
And then the one person that I obviously Anthony Edwards is one example. SGA is one example. Steph Curry in a way is one example.
Yeah.
When I say killer mentality, I mean these are the type of players that don't give a fuck which stadium you're in.
Yeah.
They will kill anyone on the court.
It's all about winning, man.
Yeah. Because you see, like, you can see in the games, when especially playoffs, the home team is supposed to protect home court in a series.
Yeah.
That one killer player on on the opposite team doesn't matter about home court. Like, they will they will steal it.
Yes.
And then protect their home court.
I agree.
That comes with confidence.
Yeah, man.
So how do you get confidence? Obviously, you train your skill set, your craft, and stuff like
it's
that.
training.
But if you're, to me, it's like when you're training just shooting, that's not really efficient.
Yeah, you have to know your teammates as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I'm just thinking. I'm talking individually. Like, if individually, like, let's say we're back to the small forwards and centers.
Yeah.
I think this day and age, you don't want to focus on shooting. You want to focus on footwork.
Yeah.
Because let's just say that's the thing. The reason why I bring up star players is because let's say your star player gets injured. You're left with whatever's left on the ball.
The group of people,
Everyone's half the guys don't know what to do with the ball. And you're 6'8" to 7 feet tall. You don't know what to do but dribble, look for someone wide open instead of attacking the paint.
Yeah.
So there's no point of you practicing 1,000 threes during the summer or during 5 hours before opening up. There's no point.
Yeah. You'll be left in the deep end of the water,
like,
I reckon.
Like, for example, like what happened with Golden State against Timberwolves when Steph Curry got injured.
That pissed me
no
off.
one else stepped up.
No one stepped up,
Like, you mentioned centers and three. You remember, like, there's one player that bugs me, Quentin Post.
Exactly, yes. That's a good example,
That's
actually.
That's an example. Like, and it's kind of ironic because his last name
is Post.
Post. But you not once in that series you saw him in the paint.
Yeah.
He was always on the 3-point line. So when Steph Curry came out, and obviously we thought Jimmy Butler was going to step up, I don't blame Jimmy Butler. It's the whole team all season relying on that system. You're listening to the coach's system, but you're not. That means you're not confident in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you didn't work on the other things to make you better. And that's why people like that don't stand in the league for so long.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, we can just get someone younger, or we can get someone who's willing to make those shots that you can't make.
Yeah.
And that's what's missing. But the reason why I brought up trades, because I want to talk about the latest trades that came up now. And the one thing that I think of is, I'll just go through the list of each teams. Like, obviously you've got Orlando Magic, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, for Desmond Bain.
Desmond Bain and KCP swap.
Goddamn, yeah.
Who do you think won this trade?
For me, well, Orlando won the trade because one, they get a younger shooting guard, although the only thing that Desmond Bain lacks that KCP has is defense. But aside from that, I think people are complaining the fact that they traded for Desmond Bain by giving up 5 first-round picks for him, along with KCP. But at the end of the day, you have this young core that obviously you saw that they have great potential to actually become a good team, especially what happened with this season. Like they were really such a good team throughout 82 games, and like adding an actual shooting guard that shoots better than KCP. I mean, for me, Orlando won this trade.
Yeah, because I look at it last season because I thought KCP when he signed with the Magic when
He was gonna do something.
it was gonna be an upgrade
Yeah, but
offensively. But he was nowhere to be found.
exactly that's how I feel like. I feel like his best years was with the Lakers and the Nuggets, but after being traded to Orlando last season, I think like that was it. I think.
Because Orlando's young,
Yeah.
and I feel like those 5 picks, they would have. I would have kept at least as many of them as I could.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what could happen, like with Desmond Bain.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, they also gave away Cole Anthony, which I wish they didn't give up because that guy was a killer back in high school.
Yeah.
And then again, you still have Jalen Suggs, you have the 2 Wagner brothers,
Yeah.
then you have of course Paulo Banchero, and Wendell Carter. Like these guys are young and like you can make the most out of it as long as you keep them. Like you see the chemistry throughout this entire season. Like you put the right pieces together with them, you can make noise.
I agree.
Do you think? Because I'm trying to. It's good that they didn't lose that many pieces.
Yeah.
Because they made the playoffs. I think was it the first time since having Banchero?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. It was. Yep.
Because the last time they had the playoffs, it was like 2019, when they had like Aaron Gordon and Nikola Vucevic back in. That was the last time I heard they went in the playoffs. And then with this new group, they have something to learn from the first round. Obviously, fortunately, they first the Boston Celtics, but you can see the competition, like the competitive spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you add Desmond Bain, it's an upgrade. But do you think it's enough to get past the first round?
Yes, for me, yes, but it's not enough to get to the Eastern Conference Finals because 1, they're still lacking bench players. 2, they're like again, if one of their star players gets injured, who's gonna step up? So like, look what happened with the Boston Celtics. They lost Jalen Suggs, which was an impactful player to their team in defense, in shooting, and in playmaking. And Cole Anthony was trying to somewhat try to step up, but he wasn't as good as Jalen Suggs was. And one more thing is the fact that with the Orlando Magic, well, they're really young and they're lacking veterans on that team to boost up, their confidence and their mindset of the game.
Because Louis made a valid point. It's nice to have a mix of veterans.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You need someone to show them the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to make sure that they utilize like their own skills.
Yeah, like I feel like one veteran is just obviously it helps.
It helps, but you need
more.
Yeah, you need more.
You definitely need more. Because the one thing I hate about that type of thing too, about veterans on a young team, they're not gonna get playing time, even though they can still have an impact in the game. You're not gonna see much. Like look at PJ Tucker in the Knicks.
Yeah.
Really great defensive player, can be effective in the 3 sometimes, but you didn't see him.
Yeah, in the court. Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's just an age thing, or a coach doesn't trust them, or?
Nah, to me, when it comes if we're talking about PJ Tucker, I think the coaches realized that he can't adapt to what the game develop at the moment or evolve. Because like if you look at it, if you put PJ Tucker throughout that series against the Pacers, for example, like he's going up against Miles Turner Pascal Siakam,
Yeah.
like dudes.
Some really solid players.
Yeah, some solid players are taller than him, easy score than him, and like, and especially age. That's another big factor. But although he is in great condition, but like at the end of the day, coaches wouldn't want to risk putting him out there
Yeah.
Yeah.
and test it throughout the playoffs.
Yeah. He
Like
needs
probably
experience.
probably in the regular season they want to experiment with putting PJ Tucker on as a center or a power forward like back in Houston.
Yep.
But like I wouldn't try risking him with the Knicks throughout the
It's
postseason.
funny that you mentioned confident putting him in the playoffs, or don't want to practice putting him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the regular season is for? Isn't that when you get all these pieces, you're supposed to use the 82 span
Yeah.
to try different types of shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I mean-
he could have made an impact against Indiana, I believe, regardless if Siakam
Yeah.
or Miles was there. He
Yeah.
makes like just him there makes a difference. I feel like these veterans and young teams, they're there for a reason, not just mentoringship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's the one thing about like obviously the young guys, they should, because they're still developing, they should also have some presence of veteranship on the court as well,
Yeah.
so you can see the good and bad tendencies.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna see a veteran take 23s. You're
Yeah.
gonna see him, make the extra screen, the extra pass,
Yeah.
the extra
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah, he actually he knows like all the intricacies
Yeah.
of the game. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You don't really see him making an effort with a layup or something like that. But he'll set up screens and he'll call plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
That's
for me, if I'm a team, like if I'm trying to build my roster, I'm gonna take a veteran regardless of the age
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
over youth,
Yes.
over athleticism.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather take experience over talent,
Yeah.
because as talented as you are,
Yeah.
as you are, it's hard to feed them knowledge because they
Yeah.
think this is all I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know this works
Yeah.
for me. Whereas the experience and the
Yeah.
and the veteranship,
Yes.
they've been through it all. They've
Yeah.
been through all the losses.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they know what to not do. Like because you're supposed to learn from losing.
Yes.
And all these young guys think, oh, nah, tomorrow. They think tomorrow's guaranteed.
Yeah. 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 If I was a coach, man, I think the best thing that you can do is put your trust in everybody,
Yeah.
whether young or old. If it's a young guy, you tell him, hey, listen, I trust you can do this. That's why I picked you.
Yeah.
That's why you're in this team. And with the veterans, hey, you know what to do. You can lead. You know what I mean. But then, again, if you get young players and you encourage them like that, and before you know it, they're hurt. And what are you gonna do? You know what I mean. So you have to compromise as well.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
So-
like for instance, like like with terms of veterans or leadership, comes like if you had watched Quarter of Gold from Netflix about the USA winning the championship. But if you look at France, like there was this one game where they lost, and you see Nick Batum, the oldest player on the team. Like as soon as they lost, you can hear a mouthful from him from the locker room, saying that they could have played better, they could have scored better, they could have defended their home, because it was their home court, especially, and like in a way, having that type of leadership or veteran in like presence in your team, giving these advices, like it pushes you to do better next game or throughout the entire tournament. Because like after that, they kept winning. They ended up going to the gold medal game after that.
Absolutely.
And like another example is with Udonis Haslem. I mean, people hate the fact that he was on a team. Like they could have just given him a coaching position rather than being on a roster and like give that roster spot to a player that can contribute to the team. But people don't know that being part of the team or the roster as a veteran makes a huge difference. Whereas being on the coaching staff, because like when you're part of the roster, you get to play with these guys. So like
I agree.
throughout training and stuff, you see like there's some other scrimmages like you can watch on YouTube where Udonis how he gives his input throughout training. He teaches, like if you look at it this way, Bam Adebayo wouldn't become the player he is today if it wasn't for Udonis Haslem giving him what he like these ideas, these IQ plays,
mentorship,
the mentorship.
Yeah.
That's why like I totally agree that every team is supposed to have a veteran on the team. So like, except for that's the thing. Like with Oklahoma City Thunder, there was only one guy that I know that was a vet there, and that was Alex Caruso.
Okay. Caruso.
Yeah, because he was the only guy that had experience throughout going to a playoff team, winning a championship, and teaching these young guys how the pressure is when you get to the finals.
See, I remember last season when they traded for him. Well, earlier in the season, at least, when they made that trade for him, my mate goes, "Oh, we got Alex Caruso, but he's not. He's gonna take some time for him to get. He's not putting up points or anything. He's not contributing on the court." And I go, "No. Give him time. Because he's a veteran. He knows. He came from the Lakers. He knows how to win. So he's gonna see how the system works. And then he's gonna give his input, and then he'll mingle. Because that's the one thing especially those teams that are close to winning championships. They just need some more guidance, some more mentoring.
They just need that extra push from someone.
Yeah. The one thing that I hate though, when those teams, when they come so close, is that they lose a really big piece. Or they blow up the team straight away. Like one after one season. Like right now, let's shift over to the Boston Celtics.
That's a good topic right there. Well, if I were to start it off with the Boston Celtics, the reason why they had to blow up the team is because the money, the tax.
I forgot what they called it. There's a term that they use now, but basically the rule was
over the limit.
They have to pay these taxes now. Back then they used to the owners used to just pay it off, but now the NBA rule applies that they have to pay for this now. So they can't just brush it off and keep signing all these players and worry about the consequences later. It's like no. The players and the deals that you make now, the tax that comes with it, you have to be willing to face the consequences.
That's why if you look at it, they had to get rid of Porzingis, they had to get rid of Drew Holiday.
And then they're gonna have to get rid of more at some point because they're way up there.
But if you look at it, well, that's one team, as you said, that after one run on the championship and the next season, they blew off the team.
Do you think if they had won, it would have made a difference to where they are now in the off season?
I mean, even if they did win the championship, I mean, if you look at it, they'd still have to blow up the team because of the NBA rule. But at the end of the day, for me, regardless, they win or lose, and even if the NBA rule didn't apply to them, after this season, you have to blow the team up, because what happened with the New York Knicks, just because Tatum got injured, you still had 4 All-Stars on that team, and you had a decent bench, and you still lost to the New York Knicks.
Do you think it was the players or the system?
For me, it was the system itself. Because again, it was... That's the thing that everyone hates about the Boston Celtics. They are winning, but the way that they win is why they hate them. Because, again...
It's all about threes.
If you look at the stats, everyone's just chucking up threes. Look, you had, for instance, you have Al Horford. Back in his Atlanta days, the guy was doing work underneath the paint. He was rebounding, he was scoring underneath the paint, he was shooting mid-ranges, he was posting up. Now, he's just a spot-up shooter on the three-point area. He's not allowed to have his own post-up moves. There's no plays drawn up for their power forwards or the centers to score underneath the paint. For instance, Porzingis, you don't see him on the post trying to do some footwork. He's just either gonna gets the ball, he just shoots it up, and then that's it.
That's a Hail Mary attempt.
Then you see again Peyton Pritchard, guys heart over height, but at the end of the day, all he does is just shoot. So he gets the ball, he's just gonna shoot.
See, I believe that's a really great example, the Boston Celtics. With everything you just said, everything from the start was with not just a system, also the coach.
It is, yes.
I reckon if they had a different coach, and the players
that they still
had done something different, added something different, with the stuff that you just said. If Porzingis had a footwork, if Al Horford was more physical, they would. I reckon they would have turned around, and then Tatum would not have gotten injured.
Yep.
Because of that.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, during that game where Tatum got injured, he was carrying the Celtics because no one else was stepping up.
Yeah.
And that's why I come back to all the teams are the same. When the star player who
Gets
changes
injured, yeah.
gets injured,
Yeah.
everyone becomes the same player. Everyone's just doesn't
Yeah.
know what to do inside.
Yeah.
They don't want to turn it over.
Yeah.
They're scared
Yeah.
to shoot. They lose confidence now. That's what
Yeah.
every individual needs to, like, player on any team
Yeah.
needs to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you want to stay in the league for long, especially if you want, to be wanted when your contract expires and the team that you're with doesn't
Yeah.
no longer want you. You get
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you're comfortable, if you're being too comfortable where you are at,
Yeah.
you're gonna end up.
Yeah.
Elsewhere.
You're just another.
You're just another player.
But yeah.
You're just another
Yeah.
player that, well, cool, you played for this team once, cool.
Yeah.
Like Cam Reddish,
Yeah.
prime
Nowhere
example
to be
of Cam
found.
Reddish.
Yeah.
Nowhere to be found. He's supposed to
He's
be.
gone.
He's supposed to be a great high school player,
Yeah. Yeah.
shooting guard, averaging 30 balls something.
Yeah.
He was okay in Atlanta,
Yeah.
but when I've heard the news that when the Lakers signed him and Torian Prince, people thought, oh, this is way better than the year before. But I was like, how is it better than the year before?
Yeah.
You've got two defensive players, and then two people that I know for sure were just gonna stand around because they don't know how to create their own shots.
Yeah. Yes.
And then look what happened we fast forward, look what happened to, for example, Cam Reddish. Look, as Foley. For the whole time till now, he hasn't produced more than 10 points
Yes. Yes.
as a shooting guard. And he's still young. He's still like, what, 23,
Yeah.
24?
Yeah.
Where is he now?
Yeah, man. Because the young guys, especially like when you're playing college level, high school level, like if you're good in all, like you're great. But once you get up to the big leagues, the bright lights can sometimes be intimidating. That's why the young guys
I think it's just the comfortability, because if like the fact that you're not in the league anymore, that should have told you something. Like you should have worked on.
Yeah.
You should have worked,
Yes.
on something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say to everyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not just about shooting.
Yeah.
We know that it's part of it. It's not just about that. You have to be very, smart,
Strategic. Yeah.
strategic about
Yeah.
being on the court.
Yeah.
Not only
Definitely.
that, but I think one of the biggest things that you're supposed to have is a strong mental health and that
Yeah.
confidence.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, like let's say, look, Cam Reddish was killing it with Duke on his final year. Although they didn't win the championship, but he was producing. It's one of the reasons why he was one of the top picks in the draft
Yeah.
when he got drafted, along with Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett. But like when he got into the league, I think like what we said about the bright lights pressuring all these players,
Yeah.
not stepping up because they got pressured.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge factor because look, if you look at Ben Simmons, see what happened with him
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
Sixers.
yeah.
After he got all the blame for why they
Wow.
lost against Atlanta,
Yeah.
the next season, he was just scared
Yeah.
to shoot
Yeah.
the ball.
Yeah.
His mental state wasn't the same after that series
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
all the blame, all of the pressure, it
Yeah.
got to him.
Yeah.
And like till now, the confidence never came back. And like I think that's what happened to Cam Reddish as well, whereas after that Atlanta season where he didn't have that much room to show what he could do on the court,
Yeah. Yeah.
it got to him thinking that maybe I'm only stuck at this level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like maybe I can't go exceed to
Yeah.
my expectations where I'm supposed to be here,
Yeah.
but players or coaches
I
think
agree.
that I can only stay here.
I agree.
And whereas with Ben Simmons, like
Yeah.
he was at this level, and then when people got into his head,
Yeah.
he was thinking that
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I just belong to here.
Yeah.
And
But you know that's there's a movie called Above the Rim.
Yeah.
Tupac's got it.
yep.
And there was a guy there. There was a scene there, and he's like, he came to the neighborhood because he's from that neighborhood, and he's like, this is the next big thing, but then he had his insecurities.
Yeah.
He's smoking crack. He's in the car, and you can like he's scared. He's crying, and he goes, while he was smoking crack, he was going, what if I'm not that good? You know,
Yeah.
what if I'm not really made for the league? You know, the insecurities come once you stop playing with the big dogs, they say, and you think to yourself, maybe I'm not that good. But that's just some of the players. I reckon that's some of the insecurities that come.
I feel like that's excuses. Because, like, what is the reason you picked up the ball and love playing basketball? What is your reason? I'll ask you for one of you. What was your reason? Because mine was Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
What was your reason that made you want to pick up a basketball and play?
I think it's a competition. Like personally, I'm a competitive person, and I just happen to be good at basketball. Look, like in the Philippines, everyone loves basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think back then, especially your generation, I reckon 90% would say, "Oh, because of Michael Jordan."
Michael Jordan, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
This generation, most people are going to say Steph Curry.
Yes.
Two different reasons, but there's two different ways why the players then to the players are what they are.
Yes.
Because we love the game because what Michael Jordan did.
Yeah.
Or the reason we wanted to be like Mike.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
Being in the paint, doing all this shit. Now the kids say like they like, oh, I pick up the ball because of Steph Curry, and now you can see the Steph Curry fans, they shoot the threes.
Yeah.
They're not
Shoot the
practicing
threes.
it.
Yeah.
Even if they do practice it, when you step on the court, you know they're just gonna shoot threes more than twos.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to dribble. Whereas we picked it up, we knew how to get into the paint, attack.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah,
that stuff.
you know how to do the post-up moves. Yeah, fadeaways.
Yeah. So then it comes with, now you fast forward, you can look. I think the question with these newcomers or the current stars is, what made you love basketball, and how much are you willing to work for it? To keep that dream alive.
Yeah. Definitely.
I don't think I know the work is there, but it's the, getting to the next level. It's like they don't know how to do it, or they don't want to do it.
It's like the Michael Jordan commercial. Maybe I made led you to believe it was easy when it wasn't. Yeah. Maybe just making excuses. Because I think I've made the point last time we were talking, like the competitive drive is there to win, and because if it's anything less than competitive, you don't win. Of course, the dissatisfaction when you lose a game, but the competition, because now there's an ocean of money being thrown around, and now your competitive side is like, you know what, win or lose, I get paid anyway.
Yeah.
That's
a huge factor.
Yeah.
But it's not. I get that.
Yeah.
But that means that you're so comfortable with the opportunity that's in hand now. You're not thinking of the future.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned this, when players get offered 5 years, 500 million, 300 million, stuff like that. They're good with that 5 years, but then when you don't produce because you're so comfortable, you're not upping your level.
Yeah.
With after that new deal is done, they're thinking, all right, I did my job.
Yeah.
Where's the next big thing?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that was it. You haven't produced as much. You haven't taken us this far.
Yeah.
We think you're only now worth this much.
Yeah.
And that's your value comes with the work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Not with.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. Yeah.
That's how it should be. Like for example, like John Morant right now, face value.
Yeah.
How much is he worth to you?
I mean, to me, he's still at a high value.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, because like if you look at it, Memphis just made it clear that him and Jaren Jackson are untouchable.
Yeah.
Everyone else, they can be traded.
Yeah.
Because like they still see him as a high value asset that can still be developed and like that can still somewhat be that leader to make them contenders.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, and we come back to the trade, how does? Because they've gotten rid of so many pieces in that team that it's almost a rebuild so early.
I know. Yeah, actually, I agree with that. I mean, like if you look at it, I feel like it started when they traded off Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, it started. That was the
It started, because like before they traded Dylan Brooks, they were playing well. I mean, at some point, even if you didn't have John Morant, they were actually playing good. They were still winning games. Whereas this season, when you had John Morant out, they were barely making the playoffs.
See, I believe that if they had kept, let's say they kept that team.
Yeah.
I reckon they would have gotten past the first round against SGA.
Yep.
Just in terms of physicality and the
Mm-hmm.
defense.
Yeah.
We all know they're both defensive teams, but Memphis. The thing what I like about crews that are sticking together longer, they know the tendencies. They know, like on their own teammates.
Yeah.
That they can feel like they can take on anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're coming up. Doesn't matter. We feel like we could take.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Memphis. They got rid of so many pieces.
Yeah.
You got some good assets, but it's as a Memphis fan, you want to win now.
Yeah.
But with John Morant being hurt, it's another season for them where they're without their star player.
Yeah.
But one thing I know, the other thing I see is that if I was a manager, like say, you have to pick your guys carefully because you cannot put like too many good guys. Like you cannot have because there's a clash of ego. Like say for example, you've got three great players in one team, and then you add another one, and then you add another one, and pretty soon everyone's going to be competing with each other.
See, and that sounds to me like super teams.
That's a super team, yeah. You cannot have too many great guys in one team.
See, that's funny that you mentioned because how many super teams out there have actually won from the top of your head?
Well, so for
I thought
starters,
Miami with
See,
LeBron.
Miami and Golden
I'm
State.
gonna.
Hmm?
I hate that they think that LeBron, the whole my LeBron thing was a super team when really
It was just three players.
it was just three great players come together.
Yeah.
When D Wade had Shaq, James Posey, Gary Payton, Jason, all those great players in that team, that wasn't even a super team.
Yeah.
That was just a bunch of old past their prime players who had been in the league long enough that they knew what it took to win.
Yeah.
And they relied on a D Wade player, young shooting guard.
Yeah.
Right? After they were all gone, he was nowhere to be found in the playoffs ever again until LeBron came.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bosh in Toronto.
Yeah.
Like a Kevin Garnett stood out.
Yeah.
Best player in his team.
Yeah.
And then they weren't winning. They weren't going anywhere. LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
No one wanted to come to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Great player. But he's not the LeBron James that we know now. It's just like we just look at him at face value at the time.
Yeah.
They're just three really great players for each team.
Yeah.
Same as the Celtics.
Yeah.
The first big three that was ever formed.
Right.
Yeah.
So when those three came together, it's different when those three Heat players came together versus the Golden State adding Kevin Durant. That's a super. That's where the super team began.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not the Miami Heat. That pisses me off when they put people. It's because with Miami. That's the one thing. Like, that was not a super team.
Yeah.
When you added Ray Allen, that didn't even count as a super team. You just
Because he was.
he was already way past.
Yeah.
Super team is when you have all these great players at a young, almost on their prime.
Yeah.
Come together. That's a super team.
Yeah. So you're basically talking about the 2019
The 2019. Yeah,
Warriors.
DeMarcus. Yeah, you had the DeMarcus Cousins. You had Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, Steph Curry, and so forth.
Yeah.
That's a super team.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Cousins was a superior to center.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, a superior small forward.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson and Curry are superior backcourt. That's a super team.
Yeah.
But like back to what Louis was saying about if you have all these star players and next thing you know they're all fighting against each other because all of them want the ball at the same time. That's the reason why that team itself blew up. Because remember that Draymond scenario with Kevin Durant against the Clippers game where
and then that's why he wanted out.
Yes, Kevin Durant wanted the ball, but Draymond tried to go all the way.
Yeah.
Where you have Kevin Durant as your player,
but
to shoot the ball.
But that's a competitive thing. Like they want to win.
But at the end of the day, it's actually really hard to have 5 players wanting the ball at the same time because at the end of the day, if you don't feed these players the ball, their value goes down.
Yeah.
So if you look at it this way, DeMarcus Cousins after that season, his contract, his value went way down, where he took a veteran deal with the Lakers, and then next thing you know, he couldn't. The reason why his value went down is because he couldn't produce for that team.
Yeah.
Setting aside the injury aspect, he just wasn't as dominant as he was before that season with the Pelicans. Because with the Pelicans, he was doing work with Anthony Davis.
Let's use the DeMarcus Cousins for example
Mm-hmm.
in this scenario. Big center, superior, no one stopping you in the paint.
Yeah.
In the Golden State, when he was with the Golden State Warriors, when you have, just in general, when you have the ball, when we look at you as a great player, the things that we're thinking of is what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were expecting, attack, kill,
Yeah.
what was it? We didn't see that. Instead, he wanted to make the right pass, make sure the shot that he shot counts,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And that's where I come back to the player individually adding the skills to your bag.
Yes.
That builds the confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you guys are
Yeah.
butting heads.
Yeah.
You're trying to do whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
But that comes with the tools in your kit.
Yeah.
That's why they have that clash. Versus these young guys,
Yeah.
they're clashing. We know that you want to try and win, but you don't have the kit. You don't have
Yeah.
the right resources or tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the
Mhm.
difference between the
Yeah.
veterans and stuff like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said.
right? Another one, for example, like we'll talk more about the trades. Like the biggest one for me, and there's still more to come, is the Houston Rockets. Like the Houston Rockets getting Kevin Durant
Mm-hmm.
in exchange,
For Jalen Green.
Jalen
Green.
Green, and a few picks. Now, that to me was, and I don't think they're gonna stop there. I think they're gonna add a bit more later down the track. But
Yeah. I have to. Yeah.
currently constructed, they could get past second round, even make Western Conference Finals.
I feel like, actually, being honest, I feel like
You think-
Houston Rockets is a team to be, scared about. Because like, if you look at it, last season, I mean, this postseason against the Warriors, they were just missing one more scorer.
and that
Because
was it.
like, and now you have Kevin Durant. Because like,
Yeah.
Jalen Green was nowhere to be found in that
Yeah.
in that series. You had Fred VanVleet doing work. You had Sengun doing work. You had Brooks somewhat, doing his defensive skills on the court and still doing a bit of offense. And then you had Thompson,
They might have the missing piece now.
The missing
yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
missing piece.
Now, the reason why we'll come back to the post game is Kevin Durant adds that to your arsenal on the court.
Yeah,
That's what Jalen Green doesn't have. Jalen Green's just like any other player, athletic, can shoot
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah.
But because he didn't have the confidence,
Yeah.
that's why he didn't produce that
Yeah.
whole series.
Yeah.
yeah,
You're bringing in a veteran who's
Yeah. He's got the experience.
he can literally shoot anywhere. He can literally post up anywhere.
Yeah.
He can do
Yeah.
anything, and he's got the perfect balance now compared to what he had.
Yeah. He already knows the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
But-
team
Mhm.
knows how to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
but the thing is with the Houston Rockets now is that they have to win now because
Because they traded that, yeah.
not only that, it's because Kevin Durant's time is almost up.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
that reports came in that Houston is about to offer him a 3-year max extension
Yeah.
that would lead Kevin Durant to retire with the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Durant's like 35, 36?
Yeah.
I think
Years old?
I think he's 36.
Yeah. And like, look, 3 years from now, do you think after that he's still gonna play?
See, and that's the thing about the whole 5-year, 3-year deals.
Yeah.
You're telling me as a fan,
Yeah.
if I'm Houston,
Yeah.
great, we have 3 years
3 years for
to
Kevin.
Yeah.
try
Durant.
and win something.
Yeah.
No, this move says we need to win now.
Win now, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
why they made this move, because they feel like that one piece is what they need to get to the next level.
Yeah.
It's the same with the Sixers with the Paul George scenario. Like, they paid this guy so much because they thought that this guy, Paul George, would somewhat be the missing piece that the Sixers were missing for season, but ended up being the opposite
Yeah.
when then they ended up not making the playoffs.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
I think it doesn't really matter even if they were all healthy.
It's
sorry
the
to the-
chemistry, yeah.
Sorry to the Sixer fans.
Mhm.
Let me just be honest, because you did have a nice group of veterans and talent and
Yeah.
all that.
hmm
But you look at the history, you just look at Paul George's inconsistency.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid
Yeah.
is injury prone
hmm
and great
Mhm.
post player.
Yeah.
Everyone tells him post player, but he chooses to shoot
Yeah.
the threes.
Yeah.
Those two alone, doesn't matter who you put on the roster next season,
Yeah.
just those two alone, if they don't change anything like those two
Yeah.
factors, they're gonna shit. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Even if they make playoffs, they'll get bounced out.
Yeah.
That's not a winning
Yeah.
recipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That's where they messed up. And yeah, with the Houston thing, that's if you think about it now, I think just looking at Houston, it puts them straight to the top of the West.
It does. It does. It definitely does.
Because if you break down each team, especially the Denver Nuggets, I mentioned the Denver Nuggets. Had you kept that championship roster, even just those three pieces that I mentioned, like
Yeah.
Bruce Brown,
Brown.
Jeff Green,
Mhm.
KCP, if you had just kept those three, you could have had a little run of your own,
Yeah.
right? The playoffs speak like when I look at these teams when they get rid of these players, I look at the story of after you win a championship, what you do next.
Yeah.
And when they got rid of those, you saw what happened in OKC in Game 7.
Yeah.
They relied on, your Aaron Gordon, your Russell Westbrook, your
Yeah.
Jamal Murray. They relied on them so much, you didn't have a bench anymore that could produce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they don't know how to produce their own shots.
Yeah, yeah.
You were playing Peyton Watson. You were playing Julian
Yeah.
Schroeder. All these young guys that didn't have much playoff experience.
Yeah.
Like you overpaid these superstars that you didn't add more.
Yeah, yeah, they should have evenly
threats.
distributed.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if even distribute, especially if you're winning, especially if we talk about, we're all about winning here. We want to try and make Jokic happy.
Yeah.
We want to try and win.
Yeah.
How are you doing that if you're not spending your money properly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly.
The one thing I hate about these superstars is that I know they want the money, but they also have to win. But you have to sacrifice at some point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Whereas we come back to the Nikes, they sacrificed
Yeah.
and they brought in talent,
Yes.
right? Here, no one sacrificed it. I've never heard any team today since the Golden State run, I've
Yeah.
never heard anyone take a pay cut to try and get
Yes.
another person back.
Yes. Everyone's out to get their own.
To get what they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you look at it, I just really don't get as well that you have this team that brought you a championship, but why don't you just keep this exact same team for
Yeah.
the next season?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what I don't get.
Yeah, because this is the group that brought you a championship.
Yes.
Stick with it. If it doesn't work next season, that's where you make changes.
And that's
Yeah.
what I mentioned. I mentioned before.
Yeah.
2020 Lakers was a huge example.
Mm-hmm.
Denver Nuggets team that won, huge example.
Yeah.
Because these teams were superior all season.
Yeah.
Yes.
That who was gonna beat you?
Yeah.
Now we fast. Now look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're gonna keep that roster as is. You're not gonna hear Chet Holmgren got traded. You're not
Yeah.
gonna hear, oh, we're gonna let this guy walk. You're gonna see this team
Yes.
keep each other.
Yes.
Because not only did they win, they know how to win.
Yeah.
They're also young, but even regardless of the age, the chemistry, the dynamics,
It's pretty good.
how they come up, they're gonna stay there.
It's pretty
I'm
damn good.
calling it. They're gonna stay there.
Yes.
Unless someone gets injured so badly that they have to trade him,
Yes.
they're gonna stay.
Yeah.
Because they're learning. They're learning from not just their mistakes, but from all the other winning teams' mistakes.
I reckon they should look after this team really well.
Yeah.
They're going to.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it with the OKC Thunders, I mean, they're definitely gonna be keeping that group because they're all there
Yeah.
for the next season.
They're young. They're healthy.
Yeah.
They know how.
So
they know how
the
to
only
excel.
thing that is a threat to them is the other teams analyzing their weaknesses throughout this playoff run that they had.
I think for me, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the only thing that's only going to stop them is themselves. If
Yes.
each individual doesn't add
Yes.
something different next season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Just because you won, beautiful. You enjoy that season. You deserve.
Yes.
You deserve to celebrate everything. Come next season, whatever. Because people are gonna watch the playoffs. The other team's gonna watch your game
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the playoffs. They're gonna analyze what you did to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
And they're gonna use that against you. Fast forward around. That's why I mentioned every season, players should be adding something different
Yeah.
each time. Not
Yeah.
trying to perfect one skill every time.
Yeah.
Because that's come playoff time, it's gonna fail. Like
You need. Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell
Yeah.
is a prime example in the Cavaliers. Is prime example. Great shooter. Spent all season shooting.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, they know how to guard you. And that's why Cleveland Cavaliers fell through.
Yeah.
Because Indiana Pacers had great defensively and they
Yeah.
had the length. They
Yeah.
stopped you because they outplayed you.
Yeah.
Because they know your tendencies.
Yeah. Because it's they can tell you're one dimensional. Oh, he's gonna shoot.
Yeah.
He's just gonna shoot.
So,
just
in
gonna, yeah.
The regular season, People really should stop paying attention about the regular season being like, Cleveland Guardians are a great team, or the New York Knicks are going to be a great team. Like no, from what I can see as a team, they're especially the winning teams. We know the real winning teams.
Yeah.
They're just looking at how do you play your guys? How does your system work?
Yeah.
So then come playoff time, we know how to do. That's why when let's just say let's say the Nuggets and Lakers game.
Yes.
If the Lakers had lost to the Nuggets in the regular season game, people are gonna say, "Oh, the Nuggets, no Jokic once again being LeBron's daddy knows how to beat him." But deep down, like, no, I have a new squad. I just want to see how we're gonna let you think you have the edge. But we know the guys that we have can take you guys.
Yeah.
We just want to see how you attack and how we're gonna respond.
That's actually, I think a lot of the tactics. But then Indiana Pacers paid for it because they did the same thing with OKC. They said let's see how they attack, what their aggression is, what their strong points are. Yeah. But then they paid for it because they waited too late.
Yeah, but like the fact that it went 7 games, even if it went to 7 games, you look at each game, you can see Indiana had chances to win.
Oh yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
All the film studying, everything. Both teams brought everything they could.
Oh, brilliant!
To
I love
right?
it. Yeah,
and I love that. I respect.
Pretty good.
I love that. Like that's gonna be like something that people will talk about.
Absolutely.
To the rest of the teams. So like when you now I've got to come back fast forward. These new teams now. The reason why I'm mentioning Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, because those teams they have winning championships versus Denver. They don't. I wouldn't worry about Denver so much because they have nothing to really add anymore. I can see Denver at some point going to get frustrated down the track. They're either going to fire coach again, or Jokic will want to leave.
Yeah, and they'll restructure
because as a winning, especially him, he wants to win more.
Yeah.
If they're not winning there, they gotta go. Same with Giannis.
Yeah,
he's gonna go.
Oh my god, yeah, he's a player to watch.
He's a player to watch.
I'm truly excited to see where this offseason takes him because there's a lot of controversy going on that he actually might just end up on a different team this season.
Oh shit.
That's another example of when the Bucks won the championship. You got rid of PJ Tucker. Yeah. That one player alone. Really changed that team.
Yeah.
Because he made a difference.
That team.
He was guarding one of the best players on the opposing team, which was Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Mikael Bridges, or even DeAndre Ayton at that point.
Even my whole Miami Heat team, he guarded. Pissed me off when we got swept.
It's one of those shameful things where it's a mismanagement. It always happens, man. When you think that this team is great, and then they'll get rid of 1 or 2 guys. It's like, what are you doing?
See, I think that it's like when they won the season, like, it's over. Like,
we did it. Yeah.
Dude, that next season, man.
Yeah.
How are you gonna respond to next season?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the one thing we look at when we look at championship teams when they win. We're thinking how they're gonna repeat.
Yeah.
Because you're not. The one thing I like, it's a bit cool. Like you get a different team every year winning it because of the new rules that apply.
Yeah.
But then you're a bit sad because of we come back to the players that we are used to watching growing up. We're not seeing that type of story being told.
Yeah.
Like the Lakers are being another example.
Yeah, man.
It's hard to think LeBron could win another ring.
Yeah.
It's hard to think Steph Curry might win another ring with everything that's applying for.
Yeah. Well, it's back in the days, it was like, you know what? That the Chicago Bulls are looking strong. They're gonna win it again and again.
But they weren't stupid enough until the very end, until '98 when they blew it all up.
Yeah.
Before that, they weren't stupid enough to trade Scottie Pippen or to
Jordan
wanting to leave.
Yeah.
They need those are the type of players that you need on the type of team and the talent.
Actually, on the Last Dance, they said that we're gonna keep riding this.
Till the wheels come off.
Yeah, till the wheels come off. If nothing is going wrong, we don't need to fix anything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Yeah, and then I think that's the one thing that these championship teams, even though there are some multiple championship winning organization teams, they failed to see that.
Yeah.
Spurs is another example.
Yeah.
They kept that same call the whole car fell off.
Yeah.
They kept that same grip, but they still competed.
Yeah.
And then they won 5.
Yeah. The other factor as well is like the players. They play in a different city that they don't want to play in. So they put up, I'll play for Sacramento. for 3 years or something, and then they get homesick.
Yeah.
But they're great players. But then that's just that little factor of he's homesick. He wants to go home. He wants to play for his home team.
Yeah,
It costs everything.
So with these championship teams, the only reason if they mess up is either they underpay the player, or the player thinks I deserve more.
Yeah.
I can get more money.
Yeah.
So I've done my part. I got my ring.
Yeah.
I'll get more. I'll get more.
Yeah.
But they don't get that. The ones that the main people that want to win more championships, that want to stay, you need to keep as many of the pieces that help you as much as you can.
Yeah.
Even if it's just the 15th player on the bench,
Mm-hmm.
they make a difference.
Yeah.
Like Thanasis. Those high fives make a difference, man.
I mean, definitely.
They make a difference, man. Those back rubs, everything, they make a difference. That's what I'm saying. And then look, let's look at let's look at another one, like the Washington Wizards. It's just a dumping ground for them. Like there's a joke going around, like all these vets are coming to Washington, but all those Washington players, man, they're either injured or they can't do shit. Right? That's
Dumping.
It's a dumping ground, man.
They call it the shadow realm.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
Because like when they gave TJ McCollum for Jordan Poole, I saw people on Instagram saying, "Damn, they really threw CJ McCollum to the shadow realm."
Yeah, like
God,
That's where they dump you.
it's the dump players, man. That's what it is. A dumping team. Like, yeah, it is. Like, that's how rebuilding is. Like, with rebuilding, let's just get whatever we can, and then we'll figure it out later. Like give me everyone. He's what, 45 years old? Yeah, I'll take him. You can have my future right here, like my future picks. Like that's what it is. That's what these rebuilding teams are, man. You don't want to be in that situation.
It's shadow realm.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like look at like Oklahoma City. Funny enough, that was actually a dumping. That was a shadow realm at some point. They took the thing is like they get the shit and then they salvage anything in the shit that's good and they throw out the rest. Yeah, that's what it is, man. Like Oklahoma City's one, San Antonio's another one. Now Washington. I feel like that's gonna be a shadow realm forever, man. They're not even getting anything in return, are they?
bro,
It's like they get someone.
Yeah.
And they're like, come.
Wait,
Show me how you dribble the ball. And then he dribbles like this.
Yeah, we want him.
What's this? Yeah, Chris Middleton. Oh, you have both your legs fucked? No. You're good, man.
Can you run from here to there? Yeah, that's good enough. I'll take it.
Can you shoot? Can you pass the ball at least? Yeah. Okay, no, you're still good. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I mean, yeah, I'm not hating on Washington and shit, but like at the end of the day, it's just, damn, y'all suck.
Man. God,
Bro.
damn.
God.
You guys stink.
The only good days, like the last time they were good was the 2016 season with John Wall and Bradley Beal going against 6 games with the this Boston Celtics.
Oh, yeah. I remember
where they lost the second round, but that was a good series.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So this is another thing I want to bring up, like with the Washington Wizards. Shut up.
So I was laughing when I read that comment on IG.
Like, alright, so with the Bradley Beal thing, when he was in Phoenix, the first thing I thought of was, where's your point guard? Because you had 3 shooting guards, small forwards. There was no point guard there. And then they say Bradley Beal is a good player.
Yeah.
In Washington.
He was.
Washington. Because he's the only one there and everyone else was shit. That's why he was a great player. And then you bring him to his other team and he doesn't perform. It's because he was great. The one thing I hear about these shit teams sometimes is that there's always gonna be one player that stands out that produces everything.
Yeah.
He's a great. He becomes not almost in a way underrated, but really he's just the only person that can actually work, and the rest are just that bad that they're badder than bad.
Nah, I think with the Phoenix Suns, I think the reason why they didn't work out is because they got 3 players that had the exact same playing style.
And it comes back to your
Because like, look,
Yeah.
with let's say for instance the Boston Celtics big three, you had Paul Pierce doing the mid range shooting, doing like driving and stuff. You had Kevin Garnett working on the boards, post up game, mid range as well. Then you had Ray Allen being your spot up shooter outside. Like they had 3 different attributes on that team.
Yeah.
Same as Miami Heat. You had Dwayne Wade being a playmaker, a slash shooting guard, and then you had LeBron, a slasher,
Yeah.
dominating in the paint. Then you had Chris Bosh, another guy who somewhat played forward center, being your rebounder, your defensive player, and also do post-up moves. Like these are 3 players that could work together in a team.
Yeah.
Because they have different attributes
that
can contribute to winning.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Phoenix Suns, you had 3 exact same players doing the exact same shit. And bro, for instance, if I was playing like on a team where I was teammates with 2 of me, bro, I'd be pissed if you were giving them the ball more often rather than putting the ball into my hands.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like that's what happened with Bradley Beal. Like I got so used to doing so much good shit in Washington, and like when I get to this team where I'm playing with 2 guys doing the exact same shit I used to do on that shit team.
Can you imagine? Hey, who's your starting 5? Yeah, I got Isaiah Thomas, I got Kevin Durant, Kevin Booker, blah 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 blah. Hey, no, that's 8. No, these 3 are the same player. So they're gonna be the
Counts
same.
as one.
They count as one player. No, that's our starting 5. Goddamn 8 players on the court. Because these 3 play the same.
Exactly. So like, in a way, like I feel like that's the reason why Phoenix failed, because, again, you had 3 exact players playing the exact same playing style, and
which is worse? Players on the team that play the same on the shadow room. They go for the shadow room.
Imagine you get the ball, and then you're thinking about passing.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're gonna do.
You're gonna do what I'm gonna do. You're gonna do what I'm gonna do. I might as well do it. Yeah.
And now you have 2 players who play the exact same way in the shadow realm. We have CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton, 2 shooting guards who actually like doing mid range, who can actually shoot.
Yeah, you've got like 3-point guards.
I thought TJ McCollum was pretty good.
CJ McCollum was really good.
He put in the effort.
I don't know why they traded. I mean, I get Jordan Poole.
He's younger,
more lethal, more height. I think that's an upgrade for New Orleans. Like they won on that trade. The only downside is you don't have Brandon Ingram. Zion is a big factor because that team was actually pretty fun to watch. If you look on paper, they have all the positions covered.
Yeah.
In terms of starting 5 is great, the bench is great.
Yeah.
Just in terms of injuries that played a factor last season.
No, I don't think it was injuries. I think it was the medical staff itself.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, I mean, although the food is great in New Orleans as well, like that's a huge factor as well. But like, if you look at it, you're a former number 1 pick, and you've been injured for how many seasons? And like, if you look at it this way, something should have changed after the season you got injured. Like you should have upgraded your medical staff to make sure that this player could stay healthy the next season.
Yeah.
But like the next season, you see Zion Williamson not even playing half of the season, gets injured again. The next season comes, barely plays half the season again, and gets injured again.
So you don't think it's Zion himself, the way that he's built?
No, for me it's.
Yeah, I reckon too, because it is like his size,
And he's young.
and the way he's playing,
I mean,
explosive.
if you look at it this way, he was already that like. He already had that build when he's playing in Duke.
But he was younger.
I mean, he's still young.
But the thing is, you have to also you have to take age into effect.
Yeah.
At that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like us right now, we're older. Like we're older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm back in there. I used to listen to the veterans and stuff like that, talking about make sure you guys eat right. You kids are eating right. Not always fast food and stuff like that. Always look after you. But that's why you see, your players like Amari Stoudemire, Dwight Howard, all these veteran players
Yeah.
still in great shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they look after themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
individually.
yeah.
Plus them individually, they want to be healthy for the long run.
Yeah.
You know, that they can still do shit with, like, let's say with their kids, or to still be in the league.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that Zion, I feel like you're relying on the medical stuff.
Yeah. When you should be looking after yourself.
And he
Yeah.
admitted to himself out loud in Gil's Arena that dieting was hard. It was
Mhm.
hard for him.
Yeah.
So
No, that's discipline.
I don't-
man.
yeah, it's-
You
it's
gotta
really
have discipline.
It's a discipline,
Yeah.
but at the same time, look, like for instance, yeah, look at Doncic, who gained weight, but at the end of the day, that guy was playing out there. He was still.
but there's two different players.
Yeah, they're two different players, whereas the other player is explosive. But like at the end of the day, you see, like if you look at the Mavs, their coaching, their medical staff was doing great. Like you didn't have these players staying out too long because of injuries. You had them coming back within a couple of weeks, couple of months.
Yeah.
Whereas with, like, look, even with Brandon Ingram, for instance, he was injured majority of the time with the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Like even this season when majority of the games where Williamson was out, you're supposed to have Ingram stepping up for his absence, but there were games where he'd sit out for God knows what reason, but next thing you know he was actually injured, and like that tells me that your coaching staff is shit. Because look, even CJ McCollum, he barely played any games for the Pelicans this season because due to injuries. You had a bunch of random people playing at some point for the Pelicans starting five. You didn't have you didn't have Alvarado, you didn't have McCollum, you didn't have Ingram. Like you had these players like Jordan Hawkins, like
Because that
like-
happens too. Like coaching can be a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
I think, plus, with the whole.
and you didn't have Trey Murphy, you didn't have
I think you had Jonas Valanciunas at some point too. You had a decent.
before he got traded.
Yeah,
like
you had some good pieces. The
You had
thing is,
some good pieces, yeah. It's just that they just couldn't stay healthy on that team. That's why people call the New Orleans Pelicans a team with a curse. Actually,
It's
So-
like that the voodoo shit in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
That
yeah.
stuff's true, man.
so they got some dark magic shit
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and then you have the fucking Washington Wizards with the Shadow Realm shit going
Yeah.
on here. So like
The
you have
Shadow
two
Realm.
completely shit teams. That if you think of it, no one won the trade. Because I feel bad for the players.
But they're both gonna end up the same.
Exactly. Because if you look at it this way, the players, you may think that thank God I'm out of the city, but next thing you know, you're gonna end up in a city that's much worse than where you were at.
Hey, yeah, you want to trade with these players? No, we're cool. It's the same thing anyway.
Hey, both teams made 2 extra trades, but they're still gonna be 15th on the ladder.
It's a difference.
We think we made a step up
Yeah.
in stats, but not the seed. Man. Oh,
God damn.
shit.
Hey, you want to trade? I don't think it make a difference.
You want to trade? I don't think it's gonna matter.
But take them to the Shadow Realm. but I do acknowledge that New Orleans, they have that voodoo stuff.
So you reckon?
Because like blues artists back in the days, man, they used to go get some. It's called a mojo hand. It's like a voodoo bag that helps you. I don't know.
Yeah, that's their culture over there.
Yeah,
at,
yeah.
At New Orleans,
New
yeah.
Orleans.
That's what
yeah.
they'd be slipping in their food.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got some. They call it Papa Legba. He's like a priest.
Okay. Yeah,
They say prayers and stuff like that, man.
I think that's what they're missing.
But I don't think that's enough to save New Orleans.
They're not praying before the game, so they got the voodoo shit on the court. They slip on something. They slip on their own player or something. And they get injured.
They end up on the Shadow Realm.
We just thought it was best for our team to.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Oh man, that's funny. Oh, that's crazy.
But yeah, like again, back with the whole medical staff thing for me, like again, like all teams, I think that should be their number one priority to make
Yeah.
sure that these players stay healthy
Yep.
and that they're able to perform that the way they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because like looking at it this way, if you have a shitty medical staff,
Yeah.
The rest of the team's
Yeah.
just gonna fall apart.
because
and
like
then-
if you look at it this way, you got LeBron, man. Like goddamn, that guy pays $1 million for his body conditioning every year.
Yeah, yeah.
And like,
I love his
yeah,
dedication.
like that tells you that if you have a good medical staff, you can always keep up until whenever
Yeah.
you're ready to put the ropes up.
And that compares to LeBron, because those are the type of players that inspire me. That
Yeah.
wanna play. Because
How long has he been dominant, dude? It's
dominant, right?
holy.
Well, he's been dominant for 3 decades.
3 decades, dude.
Like he's the reason
Yeah.
why us non-athletic hoopers, like why we can run on the court. You know, like
Yeah.
he says you have to be healthy, you have to look after your
Yeah.
body. Like
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
You have to look after your body, but being in that level, you gotta have, you know, not just care medical stuff and stuff like that, but you as
Mhm.
well as a player, you have to
Yeah.
take care of yourself individually.
I mean, look at him. He's still phenomenal shape. You know, compare him to other players. His dedication is still up 100%, and I don't see him. There's no sign of him slowing down.
Because I think next season is the only time they'll have a chance to try again, to try and win one. Because after
Yeah.
that, if not, it's farewell tour.
Yeah, it is definitely. I don't see LeBron playing 3 more years. I feel like
Yeah.
he only has 2 more years.
Because let's just say, if the news broke out, he's signing a 3-year stretch,
That's it.
right?
Yeah.
We know that that's it
Yeah.
as LeBron.
Yeah,
But as a Lakers organization, with their track record, that's
Yeah.
saying, okay, we've got 3 years of LeBron.
Yeah.
Let's try and milk
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
much.
let's take
money out
advantage of this. Yeah,
Take advantage of this.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Because right now, it's a good stepping stone. They got Luka, and now I'm saying when LeBron has someone new to pair with, it takes them a season,
yeah,
with
Yeah.
the chemistry.
yeah.
Mhm.
The next season, they're gonna come back stronger.
Yeah.
So that's why come next year, that is your make or miss
Yeah, yeah.
opportunity right there.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
You
exactly it. That's the word for it.
Because
make or
you know
miss.
exactly what you're missing from this season.
Yep.
That you said, let's just see how we go.
Mhm.
If we win, cool. If not,
Yeah.
so now next season's no excuse. You have to
You have to win.
Yeah,
and you have to get. And then that's good that we got the trade talks going. Because what do you think is missing outside of obviously the center in the Lakers?
One more thing is a reliable and consistent wing for me, and one more point guard that could actually, become a decent backup for them. So when
Yeah.
the starters come out, you still got these group of guys going
I
in.
think that's a
that's-
good call.
Well, put a pin in that because that's the one thing I like about back then and all the championship teams.
Yeah.
They all have in common is when your 5 starters are out, the new 5 that you come in,
Yeah.
they keep that same energy,
Energy
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
right? That's why
And
they are what they are.
that's a difficult thing
It's
to do.
important. It's
Yeah.
important to have that.
Yeah.
But when you just because one player in the other team is doing so well, you don't expect them to be the same in this team because
Yeah.
it's a different system.
Mhm.
There is when I say that, I'm talking about Gabe Vincent.
Yeah.
Funny that you brought up point guard because with him, the one thing I don't like about him, he was a shooting guard most of the time in Miami
Yeah.
that he was doing so well. But you're coming into this league, you're coming into this game. LeBron James is the one with the ball.
Yeah. And you're supposed to
And you're supposed
be a
to
shooter. Yeah.
You're supposed to be that lethal extra juice from Miami that comes in here,
Yeah.
but you're not that type of player. Plus, you're undersized.
Yeah.
So I think with the with the extra point guard, you just have to make sure that it's someone that's a bit more lengthier.
I mean,
Someone, yeah.
That's the reason why things worked out in the 2020 season, because you had a backup point guard, which was Rajon Rondo, which he should have the ball in his hands. Like if you had LeBron and Rondo on the same floor,
Yeah,
you'd see it was Rondo
Yeah.
facilitating
yeah,
the plays. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
LeBron. Whereas if you exchange Rondo with, let's say again with Gabe Vincent, you'll never see Gabe Vincent with the ball facilitating plays.
Even if he did have the ball, you're gonna see less than 5 points coming from that type of player.
Exactly. Yeah.
No disrespect to him, it's just that the situation that he's put in, that's where
Yep.
he is.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing about if you're gonna come into the Lakers is that you have to be prepared, because if you're not, it's not LeBron James's fault
yeah,
that your career isn't where it is. It's gonna be you, because you're coming into this thing expecting to make this team great, because they're a big team like Boston.
Yeah.
These big market teams, big on cultural winning teams.
Yeah.
When you come to these two teams,
Yeah.
The whole pressure is
the
on
pressure's
you.
onto you. So
Oh,
that's why
The wealthy team.
you should
Yeah.
feel honored to be a part of this
Yeah,
team,
yeah.
but that
Yeah.
also comes with work. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
just
yeah.
sit here pussyfooting
Absolutely.
around.
Yeah.
Like that's why I brought up Cam Reddish, Gabe Vincent,
Yeah.
and the rest of the people in that team. Like you think LeBron James is gonna save you? No,
Yeah.
you're supposed to
Yeah,
come
yeah,
to save him.
Especially the rich teams, man. They, yeah.
And one more
You have to
example.
produce.
And one more example about having not a decent point guard is like, for example, like what happened to Westbrook. You see, he didn't pan out well with, like, I think that season where they experimented with Westbrook, I feel like that was LeBron's fault, because everyone was saying that you should have let Westbrook do his own play style. Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't have changed his style of play, because next thing you know, he wanted, like there was at one point he wanted Westbrook to become a spot up shooter, or just stay at one corner or slash. Whereas if you look at Westbrook, his entire game is give me the ball,
Yeah.
I'll facilitate. If I can't, I'll slash into the rim.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing, I think that's the thing that people really misunderstand with Russell Westbrook. When he was averaging a triple double,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have Kevin Durant.
Yep.
But he did it so that he had to keep his team above water. That's
Yeah.
the type of player he is.
Mhm.
And he got others involved.
Involved, yeah.
When I thought he was coming to the Lakers,
You thought
the
he was
same thing would apply
Yep.
because that's the type of player he is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I agree with you. Like, had LeBron had just trusted him,
Yep.
especially with what he brings,
Mm-hmm.
that you should be the supporting him,
Yeah.
not him trying to adapt to support you.
Exactly, yeah.
There's a reason why LeBron and his teams have failed in the past.
Yep.
Because you need that extra, you need that sidekick
Yeah.
Yeah.
to help you, but you have to trust that sidekick
Yeah,
is going to
yeah.
come through for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and I mentioned this before. Like LeBron's thing is that when he has a winning team, he'll dismantle the majority of the pieces
Yeah.
every time, and that's why now they are where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, had they kept the 2020 championship, they wouldn't have to worry about these things now.
Yeah.
But you know, that's in the past. Let's look at it right now. So
Mm-hmm.
apart from a wing, they need a solid point guard.
Yeah.
I think you definitely got to put some actual threats in the five.
Yeah.
Fuck this. Let's put Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, all these power forwards in the center. You can see they don't pan out well.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, for me, that's why I said, like, you need a consistent wing, because there are games where Rui doesn't produce much, although we know he can. And then you have Vanderbilt, who is a wing defender, but isn't a wing offensive player, because
Yeah.
he doesn't produce points as what LeBron can produce, nor what Rui can produce.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you play these guys, you have Austin Reeves, you have Luka Doncic, you have LeBron James, and then you have Hachimura, and then you have Hayes, for instance. You're left, like, with this previous season that finished, you're left with Gabe Vincent, Dorian Finney-Smith, and what's his name? Jameson, was it?
Trey Jamison.
Yeah,
yeah.
the third, yeah. And then who else? Like you have these random players who you can't really rely to be your backup
So
players for the starters.
so you get rid of minus LeBron, Luka.
Yeah,
You've got already 9 people that you're stuck with. That's already half the roster.
yeah,
And that's where the pressure is because, like I said, actually the last season,
yeah,
what can you actually do? What pieces are out there? That's why I focused on your wings, your point guard,
Yeah.
and center. Have those with what you currently have.
mm-hmm.
I feel like that'll work
Yeah,
because last year is your last season.
it is.
Yeah.
Now they have to find a way to make some trades.
And the thing is, for me, if you were to make moves this for this season, they they have to trade Reeves
They have-
because Reeves just declined his player
yeah, he declined. He's exploring free agency.
Yep, he's exploring free agency next season. So if I were them, I
Sign and trade.
probably or definitely sign a trade because like if you look at it this way, Austin Reeves' value is off the charts at the moment because he's a near all-star caliber player. So like if you're gonna just let him walk without getting anything, well, you're stupid. If you can get something out of him, if you can get something out of him, get a center, get a wing player.
See, Laker fans are gonna hate
To
me.
lose.
No, they're gonna hate me thinking that I'm hating on Austin Reeves
Mm-hmm.
and that he should be traded.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why he should be traded, and the record in the past shows you, he's a great offensive player.
Yeah.
But the playoffs are different.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you're 6'4" versing 6'6" taller guards, you're nowhere to be defensively.
Yeah.
The years before, when they had D'Angelo Russell, they had the 2 seasons before when they had before Cam Reddish and Torian Prince.
Yeah, they had Dennis Schroeder as well.
Dennis Schroeder, you had all these, right? The problem was they didn't have a solid 5, and their shooting guards were just below 6'6".
Yeah, they were a defensive liability.
They were defensive liability. You were versing a Denver Nuggets team who won that year, who were bigger and more physical and more lethal than you. The following season, history repeated itself.
Yep.
You were nowhere to be found defensively because you're 6'4". I get that you're great offensively and that's you are where you are, but you actually hurt the team more than you help them.
Yep.
Yeah.
By being a defensive
By
liability.
being a defensive liability.
Yeah.
That's why it frustrates me when people say he should be a starter or you should put him at the 1, when really he doesn't really help this team come playoff time. You see the history that's shown. The Denver series when they repatched the 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
How many times did Jamal Murray spot up against you?
Yeah.
Like you're nowhere to be found. So the Lakers, they really have to find a way to get as much out there for this one particular player. It'll help the other teams, but not for us.
Not only that, the reason why I suggested that they should trade for Reeves, aside from him declining the extension that he was being offered to, is because he's one of the only players there that has a high value asset that they could get something out of. Because if you try to trade Hachimura, I mean, look, the guy is good, but I feel like they shouldn't trade him because he can still bring in something and he has the size to play for what the Lakers need. And if you try to trade for Vanderbilt, you won't be getting a player that can play better defense than him, or a player that can score better than him, because he doesn't have that much value for other teams. And if you want to try to trade like, let's say, Christian Coloco, no one's gonna want him because he was a rookie and he has no value, nor did he show any signs of any potential to become a great player. And then you have Jackson Hayes, where you see he's just the guy was great during his Pelican days, but like watching him with the Lakers, well, he's just tall. He can barely rebound. He can block shots, but that's pretty much it. Like, you have these players who don't have much value, that if you want to win by next season, you have to give someone up from the big 3 you have. And looking at it, you're never going to trade LeBron because you want him to retire in LA. And you're never going to trade Luka Doncic because he is going to be your franchise player.
Yeah.
So that leads to leaving Austin Reeves as the first and only option to trade for that you can get something out of.
The Lakers don't have any. They don't have any drafts or anything now.
No, they gave up a few draft picks for Luka Doncic when they got him, and aside from that, they have Maxi Kleba.
Yeah.
And aside from that, they also gave away Max Christie, which also had some good
Doesn't
potential.
matter.
Yeah, like
potential, but not effective on this team.
yeah. But like if you look at it that way, that's why like looking at it, they really have to break up this big three that they have if they wanna get better. Because if they're gonna keep this big three, I don't see them getting past or not even the second round. Even if they get past through the first round, they wouldn't have enough firepower to get through the second. Because like any decent centers that are in the free agency market, they won't be able to get them because at the end of the day, they wouldn't have much to offer because they're prepared to give Luka an extension. They're prepared to give LeBron another 2 years extension, and then you have Reeves, who you just offered a $90 million 4-year deal, which he declined. So, looking at it, if they wanna really add more players, they gotta get rid of Reeves. Players carrying a big contract.
So that's the biggest challenge. I feel like their hands are crossed, like their hands are tied either way you look at it.
So it's pretty much like looking at it, the NBA off season is a chess game for each team.
Yeah.
It's all about making the right decisions on how to checkmate.
Yeah, it's all the management part.
Yeah, but one thing about the Lakers, it's funny that you mentioned. I feel like any move they make is checkmate on themselves.
Yeah. And what's funny about this is the funniest thing, like the funniest thing that happens every time the season ends is all the fucking names that gets brought up to free agency, and you see every page thinking that this guy might end up in the Lakers, this guy is gonna be a Laker.
I hate that.
And you have so many names being the potential guys that could end up in the Lakers. And like in my head, like, relax. You guys keep jinxing these players ending up in the Lakers. They don't actually end up in the Lakers.
Like the whole Kawhi Leonard was gonna be in LA. They were half right.
They're half right,
but the wrong
the wrong team.
That's the wrong one.
They all jump into conclusions.
Yeah, like you have to, because social media wasn't as big then.
Yeah,
we have to let these players.
I mean, like, look, if you look at it this way, like throughout the years, everyone was thinking LaMarcus Aldridge was gonna end up in the Lakers. Everyone was thinking DeMar DeRozan was gonna end up with the Lakers. And then you had same with Kawhi Leonard. They thought that he was gonna end up with the Lakers. Yeah. Like you have these big names rolling around.
Yeah. You don't know how to get them.
Exactly, and people think just because they're the Lakers, they can get them.
Yeah.
Like another example was I remember the Lakers before they got LeBron James, they cleared all this cap space to sign 2 big megastars, and then what did they end up with? Just LeBron James and then a bunch of randos.
Yeah, you had
Lance Stevenson, Rondo, Michael Beal. Like you had a bunch instead of, but they learned from that. Mm-hmm. They managed to get Anthony Davis, and then they won a championship. That's where you're supposed to build from.
Yeah.
So you took so many pieces out.
Yeah.
That, and especially with a window so small, it's hard to get across that finish line.
Yeah.
So for me, as sad as it is, you can't really look at Lakers next season even being in the second round.
Not even a dark horse.
Yeah.
They're not the biggest threat, but still, if they make the right choices and the right decisions throughout this off season,
we'll have to see. We'll have to circle that back. And then see, this is what I'm talking about. Like the younger teams, like your Oklahoma City Thunder, your Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
That's the type of foundation that you need. You draft, use your picks, draft young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Build the potential up.
Yeah.
And then you'll be rewarded. Because when you trade, your windows of your future and things starts getting closer.
Yeah.
Before you know it.
Yeah.
And then you gotta start building from scratch all over again.
Yeah.
That's what they're facing. As a Lakers organization. And Boston too. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting off season actually. There's gonna be a lot of stars. I mean, like the biggest star that I'm really excited to see is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because everyone's like, again, I wish people don't jinx it, but like people are already saying he's gonna be a warrior.
Yeah.
It'll be great. I mean,
if he ends up in the Warriors, I feel like that's ring number 5 for Steph Curry.
Just think about the play. Can you think of the playoff teams that you like right now?
Playoff teams that I like. I really like the Indiana Pacers. I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah, I just don't see him in Indiana. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask me, that one of the teams that I like to these playoffs is, of course, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Because regardless, like, they gave away Karl Anthony Towns,
He makes up for that.
but yet they were doing good until
Yeah. Yeah.
the
I agree.
the Oklahoma City series. But like at the end of the day, the way they destroyed the Lakers, like, damn,
Yeah.
that was my team.
That
Yeah.
was
But like,
with the Lakers.
yeah, the Lakers,
Same.
but yeah,
Yeah.
damn, but at the end of it, y'all just really played that good, even though
Against Oklahoma.
no, I mean the Timberwolves.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Timberwolves.
Like, even though people see that they downgraded when they gave away Cat for Julius Randle,
Yeah.
but like in reality, they actually got better.
They have
like,
a great
yeah, both
potential.
teams
Yeah.
benefited from that trade, but like people saw the Timberwolves as if like they lost the trade because they got Julius Randle.
This is what I'm saying about those teams that they're getting there.
Yeah,
Just don't lose the major pieces.
yeah, exactly.
They just have to build
Built around, yeah.
next
Yeah.
season. They just have to. What I mean by build, just add a piece.
Yeah.
Or the current pieces you have, add other threats.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what they need to do. Obviously, with Giannis, if he goes there, that becomes an instant job.
Yeah, because like again, one of the biggest piece that Golden State is missing is a center, because they've never had a decent center
But
for
now
the past few years.
I look at. So you're saying Giannis, if he was to go Golden State, where would you put him?
In defense, he'd probably be a center, and on offense, you'd have actually no, you'd be probably playing him around center or forward, because like Draymond can play.
Giannis.
Draymond can play center. We all know he can play center, but like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he can fit well with the Warriors, because
Ball movement.
not only
The
that,
threat in the paint.
yeah, the threat in the paint alone, because you put him out there with Steph Curry, they're gonna benefit from one another. It's like that's what people were anticipating for the Milwaukee Bucks, whereas Dame was supposed to benefit from Giannis, and Giannis was supposed to benefit from Dame, but like the reason why things didn't work out is because they didn't have time to adapt with each other because of the injuries.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, they never got to know each other.
yeah, they didn't get
Yeah.
to
Like I know of you, but if the injuries are in the play, I can't really get to know you.
yeah.
That when we step on the
Yeah,
court,
yeah.
the
Mhm.
meshing, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Whereas with the Warriors, like if you play with the Warriors, you know you're gonna be playing a systematic basketball, and especially you have Draymond on your team, you're definitely gonna have to follow these plays. You're gonna have to definitely follow how to execute these plays on the court, and like if you have Giannis, like bruh, like if you look at it, if you have Giannis, you can never go 1-on-1 against Giannis.
True.
Someone's always gonna try helping out. So if you look at it, you're gonna have a threat. Either you leave Draymond open, you leave Steph Curry open, you leave Jimmy Butler open, or you leave the shooting guard, which whoever it's gonna be.
Because what is Giannis? Is he under contract or is he a free agent? I'm pretty sure he's still under contract.
He's on a contract, but he can request a trade right now.
So that's the reason why I brought that up. Is let's say Golden State Warriors, if you were to go there, you have to give up something. for
You'd
him.
have to give up something,
You have to
and
sacrifice.
That's the sacrifice.
that something can be, look, that something can be all of their bench at this point. You can give up Buddy Hield, you can give up Podziemski, you can give up Quinton Post,
Yeah.
like all these players that showed out that can play good this season. You can give them all away
But
for
the thing
Giannis.
is, if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, do I want those pieces?
The thing is, no one will want those pieces, but if the Warriors could somewhat make a trade for other players that could be the pieces that Milwaukee would want,
Yeah.
they could be the ones to be the favorite to land Giannis. Because yeah, you're right about that. They don't have the pieces to land him, but they're the potential favorites to be the ones to
Yeah.
get him.
So what? Let's think realistically, which teams have a higher chance of landing him? Because I'm thinking Knicks.
Knicks, they would, but after this season that it was a fail, do you think he would fit well with the Knicks? Because if you look at it, you have Towns.
At the 4.
Yeah, at the 4. You have
Mitchell
Brunson.
at
No, like you have Brunson as well. Like, Brunson is a ball dominant.
But if I've got Giannis,
If you have Giannis, you think Brunson is gonna play as he did with the Knicks this season? Because look what happened with Brunson when he left Dallas. You know how Luka always had the ball in his hands. Brunson was like the backup for Luka. He could produce well, but he couldn't like evolve from where he was during his time with Dallas. But as soon as he ended up in the Knicks, where he was looked as the first option to be the scorer on that team, he exceeded the expectations. He became from here to here.
But the problem is,
So like, if you get Giannis at that point, you're gonna have to feed him the ball, because Giannis is the type of player where give me the ball,
Yeah.
I'm gonna slash, I'm gonna pass, I'm gonna make a play,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna score.
Yeah.
when
So like,
the reason why I brought up the Knicks is because I look at the roster and I look at what piece they need,
yeah,
not as much as the system.
Yeah.
Because if you get a superstar on your team,
mm-hmm.
I'm thinking I'm definitely gonna try to make it work.
Oh,
Yeah.
You
I mean,
have
if-
to.
You have
If you look at it this way, Knicks have the players to trade for to get Giannis,
and that's what I want to do.
and the players that in my head that they could get rid of is, one is OG Anunoby,
Yep.
two Mikal Bridges,
Yep.
and let's say Robinson, and then throw in a few picks.
Yep.
And that's more than enough to get Giannis out of Milwaukee Bucks. But it's just a matter of fact if Milwaukee is willing to let go of Giannis, because at this point they're trying to do everything to keep him.
How? Because I think where they messed up was when they got rid of Middleton. How are you making up or trying to make a mistake? That was his partner.
Yeah.
You know, like I think they gave up on him too soon because
They gave up on him because he came from an injury.
yeah,
Not everyone who came from an injury can come back and perform the way that they used to be. You have to give them time, especially you have Damian Lillard on your team. Like, you have a guy who has the ball, and back then when it was you and Giannis, you're gonna have the ball when Giannis was being double teamed.
Yeah.
Whereas now, when Giannis is double teamed, he's gonna give the ball to Dame.
so it's funny that you mentioned time
Mm-hmm.
with Chris Middleton, especially coming off an injury. Because I'm pretty sure there was something similar that happened like that with Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was Klay Thompson was out for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
They know what he brings when
Mhm.
he's healthy.
Yeah.
So what did they do? They find the pieces that fit. So when he does come back,
Yeah.
we're ready to go.
Yeah.
With what the one thing where Milwaukee have done to themselves is that had they kept Middleton, even though we knew this season is where they are,
Yeah.
the pieces that are available to help them once Middleton becomes better. I feel like if they had kept Middleton and added pieces and he comes back healthy, they're the ones you look at more on the East
Yeah.
Yeah.
than your Boston Celtics.
Mhm.
That's where they messed up, and that's checkmate. Now
Yeah.
now Giannis isn't happy. You've lost the main person that he relied on that helped him win, and you've got Dame who's out for a whole season.
Yeah. Exactly.
You literally got
So-
Giannis in an island.
Exactly, and like if you look at it this way, why would I want to stay on a team and waste one season of my career if I
Yeah.
know I'm not going to win this season?
Yeah.
I could move to a different,
Yeah.
It's too short of a time.
to a different
I'm just
city.
I'm just thinking
Yeah.
because you're saying as a Milwaukee they're trying to do everything they can to keep him.
Yeah.
But Giannis, there's nothing here.
Yeah, there's nothing here anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
You've lost everything. Everything here is barely recognizable to the championship roster that they had.
Yeah.
The only person the few people that are literally there is
It's
what?
Brook Lopez.
Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton. That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone else
Yeah.
has no impact.
Yeah.
That can feel very lonely when that happens.
Yeah.
Like just imagine you had us on your team
Yeah.
winning for years. We're all gone. You got all these randoms.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel left out.
Of course, I wouldn't want to be
I
there.
wouldn't want to be there. But I think that comes back to like back in the day, players didn't used to leave; they used to just work harder.
Yeah.
I think players have more power, like empowerment now. That's why I hate trades.
Yeah.
Because it not only does the basketball game wrong, you
Yeah.
also do your fans wrong.
Yeah.
Like Milwaukee's not gonna look at the home games; is not gonna be as fun. The box office is gonna come drop
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
if a star player is no longer there.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's the management's job to keep the player happy. Though, especially
Absolutely,
if
yeah.
you're putting. I feel like it's easy to say, like it's simple. You
Yeah.
find a great player,
Yeah.
build around him.
You're absolutely right, because you can get great players, but if they don't get along with one another,
Yeah.
it's all for nothing.
Especially if you get rid of your number 2 option, like it hurts number 1 badly.
Yeah, it does.
Because the number 2 option that comes in doesn't fill in that role for him
Mhm.
specifically.
Chemistry's got to come into play.
Yeah.
You
Like
have to
the
like
whole
one
Dame
another.
thing doesn't make up for Drew Holiday.
Does it? And like that's the thing. I feel like they should have never given up Drew Holiday because of what he brought to Milwaukee, because he was a good fit. Although Damian Lillard is Damian Lillard, like who wouldn't want him for what he did for Portland? But at the end of the day, his attributes wasn't the same as what Drew Holiday could bring to Milwaukee.
Because
You lost defense for offense, but the thing is, you didn't need more offense because you already had the offensive players
Yeah.
with Middleton and Giannis doing it
Yeah.
for you. So like all you needed was another, like if you look at it this way, all teams should have, like all teams are strong if you have a guard that can actually put defense first before scoring. And the thing is with Lillard is he's also one of those players who can score well but become a defensive liability at the other end.
Yeah.
And like that's why I feel like Milwaukee fell apart, because they thought that bringing another offensive player to the table would put them back up as contenders, but in reality, it made them less than what they were that
Right.
season.
And that's why I kind of bring up, like, I want to, like, with each of the teams going into next season, do you think about it? Milwaukee's a gap year.
Yeah,
Boston's a gap year.
Indiana's a gap year.
Indiana's a gap year.
Yeah,
Indiana just came out of the finals. You have
Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton out. You're gonna see them lose a lot of games. They might not even make the playoffs.
yeah,
You know, Boston Celtics, another team, they might not even make the playoffs.
because they lost a lot of players. Like they gave away Drew Holiday, they gave away Porzingis. You're now left with Derek White,
Yeah.
Jalen Brown, and then with Anthony Simons, he's being shopped around at the moment. Like they don't plan on keeping him.
They don't plan on keeping him.
Yeah, but if you look at it this way, there's no reason for Boston to miss the playoffs if he had paid one player $300 million. So like if you look at it this way, this person is supposed to make sure you are in the playoffs because you poured this
Yeah.
much money on
And
that person.
That's when
Yeah.
we go back to, like, how much they're worth, and this is where no one wants to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
these two players, Jason Tatum and Brown, as great as they are, you talk about idolizing Kobe,
Yeah,
but you don't take some stuff that helped him win 5 rings,
Yep.
Yeah.
or you don't take what helped Steph win 5 rings,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
you're Michael Jordan or you're LeBron James.
Yeah.
I mean, you're Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
yeah,
Pay cut helps you.
it does.
It helps you along your legacy. It helps you money financially
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because of your worth. Because the way that I've been looking at Jalen Brown and Tatum, if you're just all about money with championships, and
Yeah.
you're not taking pay cut,
Yeah.
you're gonna end up with all this money, one championship, and then at the end of your career, you barely have anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if you take less money now, help win championships, the money will come later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the money that's gonna be owed to you come later.
But the sometimes the confidence isn't there. Like say for example, money versus championship. Like you want to guarantee championship, but then something happens. Like you fell ill,
Yeah.
and like the confidence sort of diminishes sometimes. You know, you feel like, oh, you know what? I feel great, you know, and then you hurt yourself, and then yeah, that sort of that it declines. You know what I mean? If that sort of makes sense.
Hopefully Boston finds a way to, because I hate gap years. I hate gap seasons for teams because, especially if you got a great player in that team specifically, you just wasted a year or season with them. Like, they could have used something. They could have make some noise.
Yeah.
But hopefully they can bounce back. You had a question before we started about the regular season.
Yeah. Like, do you agree that the NBA should reduce the games so that the amount of players that get injured within the season reduces?
I reckon that's a good idea.
You reckon it's a good idea? How about you? Before I answer, you go first.
I just think that because Gilbert Arenas made a fair point in his podcast that more rest means more injury.
Exactly.
So, like I learned this. For example, I go to the gym.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I can bench 20 on each.
Yeah, if you keep going consistently.
Yeah. And then later down the track, I can bench 40 plates on each side.
Yep.
Yep.
Because your body gets stronger.
If I rest,
let's say you rest for like 2 months.
Not even 2 months. I rest 3 days or something like that. I come back. I can't lift that 40.
Yeah. Anymore.
If anything, I'll go back to 10-10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
I reckon there's a level that you should be able to compromise with, like how many games.
Yeah.
That you can keep the players healthy,
Mm-hmm.
you can keep them rested, but at the same time keep the intensity.
So
Yeah.
the thing with that, it's not the games. It's not the number of games. That's the problem. It's the players and the medical staff.
Yeah.
With each other, keeping them
Healthy.
And the whole pace thing.
Yep.
Running up and down the court in a
Affects
fast
the
motion,
players.
it affects the players.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking too analytical. They're not thinking scientific and realistic.
Yeah.
What that does to the body.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When you're big and strong and you're running that fast and you have to make a sudden stop,
Yeah.
there's like micro fragments, like tears done to your body because that person that build has to stop unexpectedly.
Yep.
They look fine on the day, but that hurts them later down the track.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the number of games. It's just you just have to take care of your body, and maybe if you added some skills, like I keep saying, to your game,
Yeah.
you become less injured.
Yeah.
Because hypothetically, like let's just think, if Michael Jordan didn't exist, that player didn't exist, everyone's gonna play the way that they're playing right now.
Yep.
Everyone's gonna be injured.
Mhm.
Whereas you never saw Kobe Bryant in his days injured. You never saw Michael Jordan early in his days injured.
Yeah.
You didn't see, Patrick Ewing, Shaquille O'Neal, Larry Bird, or Magic Johnson back in the day
Yeah.
being injured.
Yeah.
Because the skills that they had made them so effective
Yeah.
that it doesn't hurt them, their bodies.
Yeah.
Because they put in that work.
Yeah.
That it became so repetitive that it didn't hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
The system as well. The system
Yeah.
is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with the
they had a
system,
good
yeah.
rotation.
If you have
Yeah.
I think with the players, if you had a good roster,
Yeah.
you'll see less injuries.
Yeah. You need to have good rotation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors to come into it. I think these people they're coming from a place where they're not either confident on the team
Yep.
or realistic. They're just not built to win,
Mm-hmm.
and so that player's frustrated
Yeah.
Yeah.
that he has to do all this work.
Yeah.
That's why with me, my answer is I don't think you should never had the idea to reduce the games because again, it depends on the players, the medical staff, and again, the style of the pacing of how the game is played.
And it hurts the fans.
Yeah.
Imagine
Exactly.
us. We waited. The season's now gone. We have to wait till like August, September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of what? What are we gonna like? We watch WNBA games. Gonna watch G League players. Like
Yeah.
gonna watch a different sport. Like you're making us wait longer
And
if
plus-
you reduce the games.
No, the thing is, if you reduce the games, then that, like, for the next generation that comes, it just shows that you can never be as great as the players that won championship playing 82 games.
'Cause
'Cause
you're
these
getting worse.
Guys, because these guys played the hell out of their careers playing
Yep.
82 games in a season,
Yeah.
and they won this much champions.
Yeah.
And like, in a way, like that shows you that they had it more rough if you're able
Yeah,
to take
yeah.
on if you play your 82 games.
There's a meme that goes around that Oklahoma City fans, how did they win the championship? And you see all these different teams, their star player was injured.
Yeah.
That's a great example of like, had those teams had extra help,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have to be that extra active on the court
Yeah.
to cause those injuries in the first place.
Mhm.
So then again, I come back like you just have to, the teams just have to figure out how to become more, so that the superstar doesn't have more on his plate.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly how you can put it. Yeah.
Because look what happened there. Because that is a prime example of what happened to the Steph Curry injury against
Mhm.
Minnesota
Yeah.
first game. Because he carried that team from start to finish to where
Yeah.
they were.
Especially
Because
the Rockets. Yeah.
The Rockets, they didn't have any help. That's why he got injured. He got over, especially his age
Yeah.
plays into a factor. So the teams have to just find other threats to help make their team more better.
Yeah.
It's not the players.